a lot of people are more interested in this fight than they are in the main event. And of course, I'm talking about Martin Bakole versus Sergey Kuzmin. The main event being Anthony Joshua versus Kubrat Pulev. And ultimately, it comes down to the perceived competitiveness of the bout. The majority of people seem to view AJ Pulev as a foregone conclusion, whereas Martin Bakole versus Sergey Kuzmin, most people are not so sure about. Both guys have lost to Michael Hunter. Bakole, by the way, has called out Michael Hunter this week. He says he wants revenge in a rematch. As gallant as that is, if I was managing Bakole or any part of his team, I would strongly advise him against that move. Michael Hunter beat him the first time, and I strongly suspect Michael Hunter would beat him again. I think that Martin Bakole, he's supposed to actually, it doesn't have his age on here. Isn't that interesting? Yeah, it used to have his age, but it no longer has it. They listed his age at something like 27 or whatever it was. They've now removed it. And I said at the time that I think Martin Bakole is much older than his stated age on his box rec. And I have to imagine BoxRec have removed his age because they can't verify it. They haven't seen a birth certificate or something like that, or the board hasn't seen a birth certificate. So they're just going off Martin Bakole's word. Yeah, I don't believe this guy's in his 20s. Anyway, whatever his real age is, he surely wants to get as far in boxing as he can. Become a legit contender, fight for the world title. And there are much easier ways. I don't want to use the word easier, but I'm going to say easier. There are much easier ways for Martin Bakole to get to a world title shot other than a route which takes him into a Michael Hunter rematch. And again, it's very gallant that he wants to avenge that loss. But in boxing, you really need to secure the bag first before you start taking unnecessary risks. There are other risks. Look, he's going to have to take risks to get a world title shot regardless. But isn't it better to take a risk against somebody who hasn't beaten you before? I mean, I would sooner put Martin Bakole in with Hrgovic than with Michael Hunter again, because styles make fights. I would rather take that risk because we don't know how that story ends. You see it. Anyway, before he can fight a Hrgovic, Michael Hunter again, or anybody else for that matter, he has to get past Sergey Kuzmin, assuming the fight goes ahead, because we know a lot of the fights are getting cancelled these days for reasons we don't need to go into. Sergey Kuzmin, isn't it interesting that they're both victims of Michael Hunter? Both only have one loss, and it's to Hunter, and they have the exact same win-loss record, 15-1 for the pair of them. Bakole's got 12 KOs, Kuzmin 11 KOs. Kuzmin 6'4", 75.5-inch reach. Bakole listed at 6'6", doesn't say his reach. I'm not sure Martin Bakole's that tall. I've seen him standing next to AJ several times. Daniel Dubois. I mean, maybe he is 6'6", but I don't know. I'm a bit dubious about that height for Martin Bakole. I think he might be a bit shorter than that. But again, I could be wrong. If you look at Martin Bakole's record here, who's he got on the record? Sokolovsky, who he beat on points, Dominic Akinlade. He was an amateur for a long time at Fitzroy Lodge. Thomas Mazarek. So the only real notable names on here, I mean, people say Sokolovsky's, he's one of the tougher journeymen out there, Sokolovsky. He's upset some prospects over the years. But the only real notable names are Marius Wack, who he stopped. That was a very good performance. And by the way, Marius Wack said that Martin Bakole is the best heavyweight he's been in with. I mean, that's quite a compliment, given the fact that Mariusz Wach has been in there against Vladimir Klitschko and Dylan White. And he says that Martin Bakole is the best he's been in with. So that's high praise indeed. Michael Hunter, of course, in the fight before stopped him. It was impressive the way Bakole came back with an overseas win against Mariusz Wach right after he lost to Hunter. So he definitely got back on the horse quick. He wasn't sitting around sulking. And he came back with a good performance. Not like Mariusz Wach is elite or anything like that, but still, it was a good performance. But other than Michael Hunter, he really hasn't fought a live wire, has he? Looking at his career again now. Hunter's really the only live wire that he's fought, and he lost that fight. So, moving on over to Kuzmin. Kuzmin, again, lost to Michael Hunter. That was actually Kuzmin's last fight. Wow. So he would have been out the ring since September last year. And when did Bakole fight again? He fought Hernandez in November last year. All right, so there's not that much difference in terms of when they last fought, although it was slightly more recent for Bakole. But Kuzmin, again, you look at his record. Joey Dwayko, actually, other than Michael Hunter, Dwayko is better than anybody on. I don't know. Is Dwayko better than Mariusz Wach? I guess they might be a similar level. But Dwayko's a decent kind of slightly above journeyman level fighter. He's tough and he's awkward. Michael Hunter, of course, he lost to Hunter and he was down in that fight. David Price, of course, he managed to stop Pricey. Pricey retired on his stool. Amir Mansour, okay, that was a no contest. Malcolm Tan, Dylan White fought him, didn't he? Stopped him in America. Jeremiah Carpensi. I mean, I know some of these names. They're not particularly good fighters, but I do know their names. Pedsar, he fought David Price. Konstantin Erich. So he's got a lot more recognizable names on his record than Bakole has. But in terms of the quality of opposition, I guess they're pretty similar. Now, Sergey Kuzmin and Bakole also have quite similar styles. Both of them like to apply pressure. Both guys like to let their hands go. They're not shy. For my money, Bakole is the quicker-handed of the two. Both guys can punch. Bakole hasn't been down as a pro, has he? I know he was stopped by Michael Hunter, but he was stopped on his feet. Unless my memory is failing me, he wasn't down in that fight. Sergey Kuzmin was down against Michael Hunter, but you could argue that he wasn't as badly hurt as Martin Bakole was. And of course, he didn't get stopped. He went the distance with Hunter, whereas Bakole didn't. So there's all to play for here. An interesting style matchup because they're both so similar. Hopefully that will result in a lot of action and fireworks rather than a hug fest. Sometimes you get these two big heavyweights in against each other. And if they're too similar, it ends up in, an ugly mess rather than an exciting shootout. We're definitely hoping for the latter. Give me your thoughts in the comments below. Who are you picking? Martin Bakole or Sergey Kuzmin? If I had to, for me, it really is 50-50, but I like what Bakole can do from what I've seen in terms of, hand speed and a bit more movement than Sergey Kuzmin. But Kuzmin might be tougher than Martin Bakole because Martin Bakole wanted to quit in that Michael Hunter fight. We haven't seen, at least I haven't seen any quit in Sergey Kuzmin as of yet. So he might be physically and mentally tougher than Bakole. And in a fight like this, it could come down to mental and physical toughness. See, this is what happens if your skill isn't enough to defeat an opponent. Then it's going to come down to your mental and physical toughness. Who wants it more? Who can endure more? Who can take more? I wouldn't be surprised if Kuzmin is that guy who can actually take more and has more toughness. But I think that Bakole, from what I've seen, has a bit more versatility and maybe a bit more ability. So it's going to be up to Kuzmin, from what I've seen of him anyway. It's going to be up to Kuzmin to drag Bakole into just an all-out dogfight where Bakole's, at least from my way of looking at it, extra skill, the slight edging skill that he has, is taken out of the equation. And it's all about who has the biggest heart, who has the best chin, who has the best stamina, that kind of fight. And in that situation there, I don't know, I might favor Sergey Kuzmin. But will it get there? Will Bakole's skill be enough? And when I say skill, I'm not talking about boxing on the back foot moving around. I mean, even in the pocket, even at mid-range, he can demonstrate superior skill, better hand speed, more sharpness, whereby he can, hit Kuzmin with shots, then block what Kuzmin's throwing back and so on. But if it turned into like Ron Lyle versus George Foreman, where it's just two guys swinging and both guys have been hurt, I might favor Kuzmin in that scenario. So anyway, let me know what you guys think. I'm sitting on the fence. I can't call it, man. Let me know what you guys think anyway. If you'd like to access all my boxing content advert-free and enjoy the convenience of listening via a podcast app with the option to download in high-quality MP3, then consider joining me on Patreon. In addition to the aforementioned perks, you'll also gain access to exclusive weekly live stream Q&A sessions and hangouts, as well as uncensored, no-holds-barred uploads, which are too blue for YouTube. This includes my popular Confessions of a Nightclub Bouncer series. Just head on over to my Patreon page and select the tier called Hatman Boxing Extra. There's no contract, there's no commitment, it's only £2.50 a month, and you can cancel at any time. So come and join our community of hardcore boxing enthusiasts by signing up with me here on Patreon today.